Good evening, and thank you for listening to WCEG TalkRadio.com, the worldwide community empowerment group. I am your host, Vincent Cheeks, and you are listening to Conversations in Education, not your average talk. You can like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter and Instagram at WCEG _talk_radio. Call in to our Skype line at 678-619-1402. 678-619-1402. Join the conversation, ask questions, and or make comments. We are your 501c3 nonprofit community radio station. Please consider making a tax-deductible donation to help support our broadcast. You can go to our website or call our office at 404-490-8646, 404-490-8646. Before we get started and I introduce my guests, I want to give a special shout out to Miss Marcella Phillips and our WCEG family, Wardell Richardson, for putting on a great 5th annual Youth Empowerment and Excellence Award show on Sunday at the Porter Sanford Theater. It was an amazing event. A lot of talented youth doing a lot of positive things in the community. I loved it. With that being said, let's jump into the meat of this great conversation. I have in studio with me, he is a teacher, he is an author, he is a college professor, he's a mentor. He's also a bit of a superhero, if you ask me. He goes by the name of The Change Agent. Please welcome Mr. Patrick Phillips back to our WCEG studios.
Man, I'm glad to be back, man. I feel like I'm coming home.
Look, you're always family at WCEG once you grace the mic. So I'm glad to have you back, brother. You and I always have thought-provoking discussions, whether we're on the radio or just in person talking. So I want to get to your book. Did you bring the book with you?
Yeah, I brought a copy.
His book is Don't Just Love Your Son, Raise Him. Don't Just Love Your Son, Raise Him. And so we're going to get into this book. This is how many books have you written?
7.
This is
a count.
He's almost a double digit. So I would say he's a professional author now. So again, man, great work. It's a great read. So I want to jump into the meat of this conversation. So first and foremost, what was your purpose for writing this book? Why did you feel the need to write this book?
That's a good question. Really how it kind of started, and this wasn't intentionally, was I started writing books for young men. That was my very first book.
Okay.
And then as time went on, I'd write the book for middle school age students. And then I wrote a book for high school students. And I wrote a book for college level students. And then the next thing was, how do I address the whole family? Because a lot of times we'll work with the youth, but then they go back home.
Right. Yeah. To the environments
exactly.
that they come from. Right.
And then if we don't develop that environment or that home, we may not be getting the results that we're looking for. And I kind of thought about it from just my experiences teaching in a K through 12 environment. And then also as a social worker, we have a lot of homes that are headed by single family, by women.
By women, yes.
And
a lot.
It kind of just a little bit made sense to do something like that because I wanted to empower them and help them because I'm a byproduct of a single family home myself.
Okay. Excellent. So let's get into the book. You state in your book that fear leads mothers to focus more on loving their sons than raising their sons.
Yeah.
And I thought that was pretty poignant. So what do you mean by that?
Yeah, I mean, we live in a society where every single day we see something negative happening to young men.
Yes,
and
sir.
Even we're starting to see a lot of it to young girls as well.
Yes.
Whether it's issues with law enforcement or gang activity in the community and things like that. And what happens is a lot of parents, mothers are very concerned with the safety of their children.
Right.
And sometimes because of that, it's just we're more concerned with them being safe than developing like they should.
Right.
And we want both, but we just don't want it to get to the point where the young man is compromised because he's been put in this bubble where the expectations are so low. As long as you're safe, you don't go to jail, I'm happy. When it should be, those expectations should be just as high as someone else, as the young ladies.
Okay. So do you think some of that may come from slavery? Because I read in a book or a post on Facebook where it was talking about the breaking of the N-word female. and it was basically saying that you instill this state of fear over something happening to her son, because you know the males were more dominant and they were more prone to rebellion, if you will, which would more than likely get them killed. So out of that fear of their children being killed, they took on this overprotective covering for them, so they wouldn't talk back to the master, so they wouldn't buck, if you will, so they wouldn't try to rebel at all. And the slave masters intentionally put the mothers at the forefront of the household. You know, they totally removed the father first and foremost to get that energy out of the household, but they put the mother in the lead position. And once that mother was in the lead position and she saw negative things happening to the father, whether it being killed, tortured, or what have you, for rebelling, so that fear that you speak about, she would use that fear to cover her son and protect him from even having thoughts of trying to rebel. And what that did in turn was, I guess you could say, kind of emasculated the young men, and it pushed the women. So the if they had a son and a daughter, it pushed the male into the emasculated role, and it pushed the women into the forefront, or the stronger roles, because now the mother's the head of the household and the young daughter is seeing the mother take the lead and this, that, and the other, and it's pushing the male into that box that you talk about, so that they wouldn't rebel or possibly get killed. Do you think that might have something to do with it?
Yeah, I think it's twofold, and I didn't even think about it in terms like that, because it kind of makes me think about, and I talk about it in a book, like, for example, I believe it was Philandro Castro, the young man.
Philando Castile.
Castile, where he was, minding his own business in the shop and got pulled out because of, he was misidentified. When you think about like an Emmett Till, like she sent her son to hang out in the South with some family, and lost her son. And those kind of things happen so often,
right,
that it makes mothers like kind of go into that, like, just like what you said, that protective thing, that protective arena. And it's nothing wrong with that, but it's, what is that old saying, too much of a good thing can still be bad.
Right.
And I think that's what we see sometimes. And then I think it's important to understand that a lot of it is not intentional. And let me tell you a prime example. I was speaking at this event last weekend.
Okay.
And it was a great event. It was about post-secondary education, and it was like 4 speakers, and we were all talking about how to successfully make that transition from high school to college.
Okay.
And you know this, when you speak and you do your events, people always come up and they talk to you and they say, man, like, I enjoyed that. That was great content.
Yeah.
And so a mother came up and she was like, man, I really enjoyed that. Like, that was great input for my daughter. I wish I had brought my son.
Okay.
And I was like, wow, why would you bring your daughter but not bring your son to get this information, to get empowered?
Right.
And I don't know the full situation. I don't know if the young man said, I'm sleeping in.
Right.
But it's just those subconscious things we do that we don't even know how long term is impacting our young men.
Right.
And I think you might be on to something with that. You're gonna have to make me go do some more research on that.
Look, man, and I got a picture of it. I took a picture of the screenshot of what I read, and I'll give it to you after the show. But it was pretty deep, and it was profound to me. And when I read your book, that was the first thing that my mind went to, was how they did that during slavery, so that the woman and the male would switch roles, and they did that intentionally, and they knew that effect would last forever, for a very long time.
And it also reminds me, and I don't know why, I think we talked about this last time, was even back in the day in the 60s and such, in order to get assistance from the government.
Oh yeah.
You couldn't have a man in the house.
We talked about that. Right.
You couldn't have you literally could not have a man in the house. And what it did was it created an environment where the man was actually more beneficial, more relevant, being outside the home.
Yeah.
Because now I can get services, I can get housing, I can
food
get all
stamps,
of these,
all that.
For not having a man in the house. And what it did was it put that value dollar amount on a man when their presence is so much more valuable than something like that.
That male energy is very important, especially with our young boys.
It is.
So, so you mentioned in the book about, young ladies being groomed to be leaders and young men are conditioned to do what they're told. So why do you think that is? Why are young ladies groomed to be leaders, young men conditioned to do what they're told, they're told what to think, and to wait on people to make decisions for them?
And it was kind of hard to kind of come to this conclusion, and I'm guilty of it. And it would be small things that we do on a daily basis that we don't even know is making a significant impact.
Okay.
Like in the book, I was talking about how in the school environment, we give young ladies a lot of leadership roles and activities.
Yeah.
And it's simple things. You take the attendance to the front office, young girl.
Right.
Oh, because they're more responsible than the boys.
Right.
Hey, you young lady be the hallway monitor because y'all not going to play in the hall.
Right.
I have to step outside as a teacher to the restroom. Young lady, you be the board monitor and write down names of anybody who's talking out loud in class.
Yeah.
And what we do is we create these situations where we give young lady power, influence, leadership qualities. We're providing them with those different opportunities while at the same time we're forcing a young man, and we don't even know it, to just kind of have these subsidiary roles where just sit in the back, be quiet, don't do too much, or I don't want you to do that because you're not mature enough. You'll play, you'll do all these kind of things. And that's kind of what it kind of boiled down to. And that was in the school environment, but we do that a lot, even in the home environment, because a lot of mothers, they say things like, I want to raise my daughter so she doesn't have to depend on anybody else.
Right. Yeah.
And we empower them, teach them how to cook, teach them how to budget, have more responsibilities on them. While at the same time with the young man, in too many cases, we'll just say, look, just don't get nobody pregnant. Just don't get nobody pregnant. Just don't go to jail. Yeah. I'm glad you made it home tonight.
Yeah.
And, oh, you got to see? Okay, good. That's better than the F you had last semester. I'm happy.
Right.
Whereas with the young ladies, we tend to say, hey, I want that A in that class, or I want that B. And it's just small things that we do that kind of, it's almost like compound interest.
Yeah.
You don't even know. It starts when they're young, and it's adding up. It's adding up. And
building up.
Now you have an 18-year-old, and he's not equipped to leave home.
Yeah.
And you're wondering why.
Well, I know. And now, do you think some of that is based in reality? Like, do young girls mature faster than men? Do they become more responsible than young men? Like, is that coming from somewhere?
I think that's an interesting question, because you know what, the chicken or the egg, or nature versus nurture. Right. And I think that it's a little bit of both. I think that when you provide environments for people, for the young ladies to be more mature, to show that they're more mature, to empower them, and then sit back and say, wow, those girls are so much more mature. But when you put them, you create put them, those situations. You created those situations. Right. It's almost like if I take my son to swim practice every single day, and then people are like, man, he's a great swimmer. He should be. Right. Yeah. He goes to practice every day. Yeah. He's given those opportunities. Or just like a speaker, people say, man, that guy's a great speaker. Well, he's been doing it for 10 years. Right. He should be good. Yeah. And I think it's the same thing with this, is that I think that and this is a great question that you asked, because even in education, we kind of have that mentality. Oh, girls mature faster. Right. Yeah. Is it that they mature faster, or are they conditioned? Is it the environment and the things that we do that cause them to mature faster? Right. So I don't know.
And then a lot of things that young boys will do, they get the phrase, oh, well, boys will be boys. Exactly. Or, things like that, which is basically writing off whatever the child may have done. Oh, boys will be boys, and that takes away accountability. Yeah.
and delayed gratification. And how often have we said that? Boys will be boys, just don't get nobody pregnant. Yeah. That's what guys do. They get around and this is what they do. Yeah. But at the same time, we'll tell young ladies, be selective of your mates. Right. Don't just do those kind of things. Think long term. Right. Delay gratification, while at the same time we kind of encourage young men to not delay that gratification. Oh, it's okay. That's what boys do. When in fact, or that's a feminine activity. Boys shouldn't be doing.
Right. Yeah. All right. So you use this term that I never heard before when I was reading the book, and it was lost human capital. Yes. So can you explain to the listeners what exactly does lost human capital mean? Because that's still a very poignant statement to me. It stands out.
Yeah. Les Brown had this great quote. He said that the wealthiest place on the planet is the graveyard.
Okay.
And what Les was talking about was that at the graveyard, you will find people who were supposed to write books but didn't write them. You'll find people that should have composed an album but didn't do it.
Right.
You'll find people like that wanted to do what you do on your show.
Right.
Never stepped out there and did it.
Yeah.
They want a podcast, never did it. And what happens is those people never realize their full potential of
right.
it. And like what I was saying was, how often do we drive by people and you stop at the gas station to pump your gas and somebody asks you for, can I get some change?
Right.
Can you give me something to eat? And a lot of times those people had dreams, goals, aspirations. They wanted to be doctors and lawyers when they were kids. They wanted to be law enforcement. They wanted to do all these different things.
Right.
But they're not. And they're literally a shell of what they could have been.
Yeah.
And there's so much lost human capital. We just have people walking around who never realize their full potential. And it's not about you need to reach your full potential so you can make money. What happens to a community where you have thousands and thousands of men, millions of men who don't reach their full potential? Like, what does that impact look like in a community? I mean, it's unfathomable.
It's literally not a very vibrant community, not a very lively community
not at all.
And you're right. You know, I drive through downtown Atlanta a lot. I see homeless people all the time. And I often wonder to myself, at what point in their life did they start to go down this path that leads them in this situation they're in now? Because when we're children, no one sits there and says, oh, I'm going to be homeless when I grow up. I'm going to live on the streets of downtown Atlanta. I'm going to be a vagabond and journey from Tennessee to Georgia to Alabama being homeless. Like, nobody asked for that. So where does that happen? Is it the responsibility of the parent? Is it the responsibility of the school? Is it the responsibility of the entire community? Because the concept of the village has been lost. We've been saying that for a very long time. So whose responsibility is it to make sure that we don't end up with so much lost human capital, as you say?
Yeah, I mean, I would say it's threefold. It's the school, it's the community, it's the home.
Okay.
And so there was this quote that said that everybody's familiar with it. They say it takes a village to raise a child.
Right.
And then somebody said it takes a village to raise a child, but what if the village is sick? So
yeah, that's a valid point.
I think the village is sick in too many instances, in too many cases. And we have young people out here trying to figure out things on their own. So I think that it is a portion of it is the school's part to try to do their part. But then also I think that the foundation is laid at the home environment is so critical.
Right.
But if you don't know, then you don't know.
Yeah.
If you didn't get that information from your parents, then the cycle just kind of continues.
Yeah.
So I think that it's kind of twofold. And I think that even if you're in those situations where you may not know, you got to try to find the information so that you can put yourself and your family and your kids in a better situation.
Okay. So let me ask you this. If a person gets to that place in their life where they've become lost human capital, and they may know it or they may not know it.
Wow.
How do we, or can we bring them back from those situations? Because, you know, I talk to a lot of homeless people, bro, and I've heard a lot of things, but I never hear, what am I doing to get myself out of this situation? Is there something that can be done? Because the homeless population is skyrocketing. The number of students that are dropping out of high school is skyrocketing. And if you don't have the education to fall back on, more than likely you're not going to end up in a positive situation. So can the lost human capital be found again?
I think it can, but I'm such a preventative guy. I think we got to get to the point where we stop letting people fall.
So they don't even get to that point.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's like when you talk about education, I think that one of the things that we've kind of done, I talk about it in my book for college students, is that for too long we've had this philosophy of college or bust.
Yeah.
And it's
you
don't, while college is great, you don't have to go to college to be successful. You
can
get a skill, you can get a trade.
Yeah.
I was just reading an article the other day that talked about that there are so many skilled labor jobs that have vacancies. Because there's nobody skilled to do the work.
Yeah, I read that.
And I think that in the school environment, a lot of young people, especially when you talk about boys of color, they get labeled because they can't sit down, They're not sitting still enough. They won't be quiet.
Right.
When in fact, what we've done is over the course of the last 20 and 30 years, we've taken vocational programming out of the schools.
Taking recess out.
We've taken everything.
Everything.
There used to be a time where you could graduate high school and be certified in auto body mechanic. You could graduate high school and be certified to do HVAC. You could graduate high school and have a certain amount of hours where you're almost ready to do plumbing. And those options, it kind of allow for like a holistic school type development where you got the kinesthetic, the oral, you using all of your senses while you're learning. And we take those things out, and then we're wondering why so many kids are lost, because not everybody wants to go to school for 5 or 6 years. That's a long time, especially when you got mom at the house and you want to help moms out. You trying to help her put food on the table, help her pay different things. Right. When you might could do those kind of things. So, but then your question about the lost human capital, I think we can help people, but part of that is society willing to give people a second chance.
Yeah, now that's key. That's key, because most people, the homeless population, are throwaways, and people don't even give them time of day or talk to them. I've seen homeless people almost get hit because people are just that unempathetic towards another person's situation. So I think you're right. It does have to be a threefold solution, starting in the homes first, and the homes have to stress the importance of education, which we'll get to in a little bit. But yeah, we definitely have to take preventative measures, like you said, to prevent this epidemic from continuing. No more lost human capital.
No, brother, no more. It's too costly. Right. And then, how many, and you answering this, how many times have you heard women say that they can't find a mate?
Oh, yeah. I've heard that a lot.
You hear it a lot. Yeah. And, some of it is dealing with the fact of you have all that lost human capital. You have a lot of men who never reached their full potential. Right. And to some women are not a suitable mate because of that. And, I was just reading an article on the way in, and they were talking about, oh man, what is it called? There was somebody who wrote a book that talked specifically about how women of color need to start looking at other races today. Oh, today. Yeah. I saw that article before. The name of the book. It's a book. Somebody else came out with a book too. It was like Fling or something. I forget the name of it, but because they're saying that, look, stop crying about not having enough suitable mates, right? And open up your field of vision, to other ethnicities to try to date or whatever, right?
I mean, that's a valid argument if you think that the pool that you have to choose from is so limited. But then that gets into argument about interracial dating, and that destroys the black community or breaks down the black and whatever nationality of the other person may be. That's a whole nother deep conversation right there. We don't want to go down that right. So in your book, you talk about being able to make young men responsible and accountable as they're growing up, and you talk about this 50% rule. So what is the 50% rule? I had never heard that concept before, but to me it was very valid and very interesting.
Yeah, it's kind of like just from being an educator, I would see young men come to school 7, 8, 9, 10, 12 years old with $200 shoes on their feet.
That is ridiculous.
$100 jeans. Yeah. And I'm like, what did you do to deserve $200 shoes, $100 jeans, polo hats, polo shirts, Gucci this,
all the name brand stuff?
Yeah, what did you do as a young child to deserve those things? And what happens is when you just give people something, they don't value it. And think about it, like I got, this is a true story. Okay. When growing up, I used to always eat my mom's car, we eat and all this other kind of stuff. And when I got my first car that I bought myself, you could eat my car because I appreciated my car. When I bought my own car, I made sure the oil was changed. I took care of it. Yeah. And I think that a lot of times with young men, because they're just given things, they get $500 video game consoles for no reason. They get $200 shoes. They get to do all these different expensive activities and have not earned them. Yeah. So what happens is not only are they not working for something, but they don't understand the value of work, time, money, how that goes into different things. And what the 50% rule is, and parents can adjust it to however that they want. is making young people do things. Let's say you as a parent bought them a pair of shoes for $200.
Okay.
And you have to work 5 hours to earn $200.
Okay.
The 50% rule would say your child has to work 50% of that time doing something around the house, whether it's chores, washing a car, doing the dishes, laundry, babysitting, whatever it is, so that they earn those items.
Right. Okay.
And as a parent, you can adjust it, because you might say, I want it to be the 100% rule, where if I worked 6 hours to get this, to pay for this, I need you to put in 6 hours over the course of the week or whatever, doing what you're trying to do, because it's about teaching responsibility, accountability, and then also teaching them about the value of money, because a lot of young people don't understand the value of money.
They do not.
They don't understand how mom work, all these hours just to buy these shoes or put food on the table or whatever the case may be.
Yeah, and we know, because our parents used to tell us money don't grow on trees.
Money don't grow on trees.
You know what I mean?
And we be like, yeah, dude.
Right. They might not have told us exactly where the money come from or how they getting it, but we knew it didn't grow on trees. You know what I mean?
And you have to work for it. And it's just kind of, interesting, because we were talking about this even before we got on the air. Kids walk around with $1,200 cell phones.
God, yeah.
I mean, just think about that.
Yeah.
Kids in elementary school, there was times that kids in elementary school had a nicer phone than I did, and I go to work every day.
Right.
How you got a nicer phone than me, and I go to work?
Right. And that's what they want these days. I did a little experiment with financial literacy, and I just said, students, it was about 8 of them, draw $100 bill on your paper. Under that $100 bills, tell me what you would buy with your $100 bills. Most of them said a cell phone. Okay, because they all want that cell phone, you just mentioned. And then you got some said a house, a car. I'm like, y'all have $100. What are you talking about?
You ain't gonna get no
and so that just showed me their concept of what money is
and the value of it.
And the value of it, like it's just not there. For whatever reason that may be. And for me personally, being a former educator, I feel like it should be taught more in school, those lessons. But it's very true to your point that they just don't have the concept of how financial literacy works or the language of money works or any of that stuff. So that example, the 50% rule, I absolutely love that, which you said if you buy your child $200 shoes, you had to work 5 hours to get those shoes. They got to put 2.5 hours
in doing something,
right, to earn the money. Now, first of all, let me just say, I'm 44 years old. I have never had a pair of shoes that cost more than $100.
Yeah.
Okay. And my mom was not with the foolishness. Okay, let me tell you, Rosetta Cheeks, happy belated birthday to her. It was yesterday. She was not with the foolishness.
Yeah.
And so, even though she didn't teach me financial literacy as a youth, she taught me that I couldn't always get everything I wanted. You know what I mean? And so it taught me to delay gratification, which is something that you speak about in your book.
Yeah.
And even though I may not have wanted to, I really didn't have a choice in the matter because I personally didn't have the money.
Exactly.
So I like that 50% rule and the fact you said parents can adjust it. Some parents are going to be like, look, I done put 6 hours in for these shoes.
You put in 6 hours.
You putting in 6 hours. So we can balance this thing out and you can really get a full understanding of why I tell you no so much.
And then just the amount of effort that goes into providing and supporting, because I don't think they understand it. Like even at the college, that I teach, I can't tell you how many students that I have that don't have a bank account.
Yeah.
Grown people, college students without a bank account.
Yeah.
And as you can imagine, if you don't have a bank account, probably your financial literacy skills are not where they should be, because now how are you cashing the checks that you get from work? Where are you going? You going to a spot that's charging you 10% of your check to cash a check? Like, what's going on? So just that financial literacy piece from an early age. And you see, you can start very young. Like my son, we were talking about this. Everywhere I go, my son wants something. Right. And I'm like, son, it don't work that way. And honest to God, this is so because he writes books. So every book he sells, he keeps $1 that he gets to spend, and the rest goes in his bank account.
I like it.
So we were out, and he wants to buy stuff, and I'm like, well, that's $12.
Yeah.
Where's your wallet?
Yeah.
And then, you want to buy, but you know that if you buy that, that's going to take all of the money that you saved away. Are you sure you want to do that? And now he's thinking about well, do I really want to buy it, or do I want to just buy a $2 piece of candy so I still have money left when I want to buy stuff?
Yeah.
And he's 7. But if we're not teaching those things, now we have adult people that every time you go shopping, Best Buy, what they offer you.
Right.
Would you like a Best Buy card?
Yeah.
You go to Macy's. Would you like a Macy's card? And we say yes too often because I want to buy that now instead of let me save that up.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. The instant gratification. The instant gratification is a murderer, but it's hurting us.
It'll get you.
It's hurting us seriously. We're like the number 1 consumers in the world.
Yep.
The black community.
And we were talking last time about how long the black dollar stays in the community. Couple of hours.
Yeah. Couple of hours before it flies off to the white community, the Jewish community, the Asian community. And the more time the dollar circulates in your community, the better it is for that community. You know what I mean? Because it's staying in the community that much longer, and it's just not flying right out the window to somebody else's pockets, making them richer and better. So I'm glad we're having this discussion, because it's definitely something that young people need to know, especially our young boys need to know. You're listening to WCEGTalkRadio.com. I'm your host, Vincent Cheeks. We're in studio having a #casual conversation with Mr. Patrick Phillips, the change agent. He does a lot of great works in the community, man. He speaks at schools, mentors our young boys, and he's written this book called Don't Just Love Your Son, Raise Him. It's an excellent read. Takes about maybe 2 hours. A good 2 hours will get you finished with the book. And he has different activities you can do. He has tips in the books, all kind of stuff. So check out the book. Where can they find the book, Patrick?
Yeah, the book is on Amazon.
Okay.
It's on my website, www.mrphillips, the change agent. It's at Barnes and Noble's online. It's on at Books A Million. So you got a lot of different options of where you can get the book. Okay,
man. Make sure you check out the book, man. It's good. It's good for the mom. It's good for the son. It's just good for the family in general. Okay, so moving on. What skills do you think young men need to be successful and live independently in this society?
It's a lot. I probably sit here for 2 or 3 hours, but definitely the whole delayed gratification piece, because that kicks in a lot of different areas. Relationships, when you talk about money.
Yeah.
When you know, one of my definitions of what makes someone a man is that they're accountable to themselves, their family, and their community.
Okay.
And what are the skills that someone needs to develop to do those things? So we're talking financial literacy, delayed gratification, respecting yourself and others, discipline.
Oh, that discipline is key.
Discipline, you know, just simple things, being disciplined about how are you going to spend, getting up, going to work, you know, doing things even though you don't want to do it at times, because that's what life is about. Every day I get up and have to do things that I don't want to do.
Definitely.
And make sacrifices for my family, my son, other people. So those kind of things are really important when I think about the youth and young men and needing to get to the next level.
Yeah.
I think also a big portion of that is like that exposure piece, because oftentimes we'll say, why is it that all y'all want to do is rap? Or why is it that all you want to do is play ball?
Right.
But then we have to take that onus on ourselves and say, what type of exposure opportunities did we provide so that they see that there are other viable options to be successful?
Right.
And a quick story, you know, when I was teaching middle school, I was teaching 6th grade geography, and we were talking about Stone Mountain, and one of the young men, and this is in Atlanta, he said, is Stone Mountain like 6 hours away?
Right.
Stone Mountain is 20 minutes down the street.
Yeah.
But you see, that young man, just like many other young men, they go to the corner store back home, Walmart back home.
Yep.
But then we say, why you don't want to be a doctor, lawyer, this and this? Because they don't see it.
I haven't seen any. Right. Mm-hmm. And I have a similar story when I was teaching in Bankhead.
Bankhead.
I was teaching 2nd grade.
Okay.
And I asked my students, what neighborhood do you live in? Bankhead. What city do you live in? Bankhead. What state do you live in? Bankhead. Stop. Bankhead is not a city or a state. That is your neighborhood. And they just don't know anything outside. Their school sat in the middle of the projects. So they went to school, they went to home, like you said, maybe the store, Walmart, and then they're going back home. And so we have to give these children experience, exposure, and opportunities to be able to learn and to grow. That's how you grow, through learning different experience and having different life experiences. The best teacher is experience in life, right? So yeah, that I just thought that was the craziest thing to me, and it made me realize, you know, I grew up poor. I grew up in the hood, but I really didn't know I was poor when I grew up, because my home had so much love, and we did different things all the time as a family. But when I was in Bankhead, that just showed me that everybody is not exposed to the same opportunities.
And you know, you just said something about the money piece that was so deep.
Yeah.
Right there, because I said this in one of my college class. I said, somebody will buy $200 shoes. And all you have is a nice pair of shoes, when for $200 you could have incorporated your business, your LLC.
Yep.
You could have opened a business checking account.
Yep.
And you could have bought a logo, went on Fiverr, bought you a logo, get some branding material, offer the same price you pay for those Jordans. Yeah. And oftentimes people will say, well, I don't have a lot of money to expose my kid to these different kind of things. Right. You're spending the money. It's just that the priority. Yeah. What's the priority here? Right. You know, you'll spend money. People will pay $500, $1,000 to put a kid in football, but they're struggling to read. Right. Maybe instead of that $1,000 going toward football, some of that needs to go toward tutoring. Yeah. Oh, I can't afford a tutor. No, you can. It's just that you have to learn to adjust. Where is this money going? Right. It went toward shoes. It went toward a sporting event, or it went on this and went on that. When maybe if I just shift a couple of different things in the way that we live, now I can provide those opportunities that I say I can't afford. Right. Yeah. And it's about how you prioritize and budget. Basically, that's those two things simply. Prioritize the things you really and truly want, because I'm sure before you paid the $500 for the football camp, you were screaming you didn't have money, but you somehow came up with money for the football camp. And then I honest story, I tell you a story. Like I always get calls. I bet you get them too, from people saying, "Can you mentor my child?" Oh yeah, I always get text messages and all of these kind of things. And I'm in school. I have a son. I have a full-time job. My son's business is taking off, so I'm helping him brand his stuff. Yeah. So I'm just super busy. So, you know, and I do mentoring. Like, I have a select group of young men that I work with and things like that. But I don't have like a mentor program. Right. So I constantly got feedback, and I say, let me go ahead and try to create something. And I had an interest meeting. Had a lot of people show up to the interest meeting. But as soon as I mentioned that there was a small monetary fee just to handle like administrative stuff, it wasn't to fatten my pocket. Like I wasn't about to get rich off of mentoring. It was just small administrative stuff to keep things going. Right. That same interest. Well, I don't have money for that. Right. I can't do that. Yeah. But those same parents are gonna go and spend buy $100 shoes when that $100 could have probably paid for my mentor program for 3 years. Right. but you didn't have the money. You know, but you went and bought the shoes, or you put them in Pee Wee, you put them in football, you sent them to the movies, you did that when that would have covered it. Right. So it's just about priorities, and we have to start taking the blame sometimes of what are we doing to contribute to the counterproductive behavior that goes on in our community. Right. And stop pointing the finger and saying what part do I have in this?
Self accountability and accountability for your community. So in the book, you say your home should be a training ground for what to expect in the real world. And I read that and I was like, that's deep. So your home should be a training ground for what to expect in the real world. Please explain that statement to the listeners.
Yeah, like it's, and I use the analogy of Baby Boy. It's like one of my favorite movies. It's like one of my
Baby
favorite
Boy is
movies.
A good one.
Yeah, because
Tyrese,
I grew up in South Central LA. The story takes place in South Central LA. All of the places that you see, I grew up in those places. Yeah. And she struggled getting him to leave the house. Right. So much so that she got a boyfriend, and we all remember the infamous scene, scene in the kitchen where he smells bacon cooking, he smells grits being cooked. That's Baby Boy smell. Yeah. He walked in like, "Hey, I smell food, mama." Yeah, and he walked in there and see a grown man in there drinking the last drop of Kool-Aid, right? But what happened was he wasn't ready.
Right.
The mom wanted him to go out, but she didn't prepare him. And I'm not saying moms do this. The parent didn't prepare him to be successful.
Yeah.
Just like we talked about a minute ago about how I have college students with no bank account.
Yeah.
I have college students with student loans that don't know what the interest rate is on the loan. They don't know if it's an unsubsidized or subsidized loan. They don't know how to budget money. They don't understand. I have students that they have Jordans, but they don't have a suit for an interview. We're talking about simple stuff. Like, people think this is like deep. It's not deep. It's like simple things that, this young man, he has all these different things. He has all these video games. He played Fortnite all night, all these video games. He don't have a resume. He doesn't know how to communicate effectively. He doesn't know how to shake somebody's hand. He doesn't know how to tie a tie. He doesn't know how to make eye contact. Doesn't know how to tie a tie. Doesn't know how to, if he's having a disagreement with somebody, have an effective conversation to resolve that issue.
Without violence.
Now I got to go get the heat out the car, or I got to go do this. So it's a lot of small things that we're not doing. Just like what I said earlier, it's those small things, and it compounds. And now we have a young man and we're looking like, why is he 24 and he's still in my house? When it was things all along, small things that didn't go on. He didn't learn how to cook. He didn't know how to budget. He didn't know how to grocery shop. He don't know how to wash his clothes. So he move out. He throw all the clothes together. His whites are red now because he had his white. We talking about simple stuff, but it makes a world of difference. And are they able to successfully go out and do this thing?
Yeah.
He doesn't have a bank account, so now he can't, get a nice loan at the credit union because he doesn't have his account. He doesn't know how to protect his credit.
Yeah.
He goes to the store and he just accepts every credit card that people offer him. He doesn't understand that I got to pay this back on time. So it's a lot of small things that we do.
Yeah.
They help young people be ready and able to go out there and to be self-sufficient.
Okay. And so let's talk about motivation with these young people. What's the difference between intrinsic motivation and extrinsic motivation, and why is it important to know the difference?
Yeah. Intrinsic motivation is motivation from the inside. Like, and we all know people that they are just motivated. They don't need a trainer. They go to the gym, they getting it in, they up in the mornings.
Right.
There's people working out on Christmas Day because they just like, this is my lifestyle. This is what I do.
Yeah.
And then you have other sets of people where their motivation has to come from the outside. They mama got to stand over them. They daddy got to stand over them. The basketball
girlfriend got to badger them.
The girlfriend got to talk about you, threaten to kick you out, for you to do what you're supposed to do. So they need all these external factors to get them to do what they need to be doing. And that's definitely something that has to be addressed, because when you're constantly depending on somebody else to get you motivated to do what you're supposed to do, the likelihood of you being a successful person in anything in life, I'm not even just talking about making money. Your relationships are going to fail. Yeah. You're probably not going to be your parenting ability goes down. Your ability to have successful relationships, to budget your money, to have a good job, to keep a job, to get a job, to finish school. All of these kind of things are impacted because you always need external forces to motivate you. Yeah. And we all know adults.
Oh yeah.
And if the boss don't threaten to write them up, they're not gonna do their job.
You can't get to work on time.
You can't get to work on so it becomes a issue with this little baby. Yeah. And now you got a grown 30-something, 40-something-year-old person with all of these challenges because nobody sat down, and addressed those things.
So would you say some parents may be unintentionally handicapping their children?
Ooh. Uh-oh. You're trying to get me in trouble.
No. I mean, that's what even with the best of intentions, if we're not preparing them for the world like you just stated, then we're handicapping them.
Yeah, and that's what we're doing, but we don't realize it.
Right. Yeah.
We don't realize it, and that's the scary part about this situation. And that's why I wanted the book, and a lot of people are like, the book doesn't have it has chapter titles, but the chapter titles are actually questions. Yeah. For the reader. Right. For you to think about.
To do some introspection.
For you to do some introspective thinking, because it's about getting the subconscious to come out. Right. You know what I'm saying? Because just like what you said, you may think that, hey, I'm just showing my son love by getting him those shoes or that video game console, but what are we subliminally doing by allowing those things to happen? What are you subliminally doing when you say your son rides around in your car and never washes it?
Right.
Like he's living with you, he dirties the car, never washes the car, never offers to wash the car.
Yeah.
I saw a meme and people, they get upset about it. It was a meme where a young man and a young lady were at a gas station, and the young man was an adult man. He was like probably 20, 21, 22.
Okay.
And the young lady was about 22, 23. They were obviously dating. She was putting air in a tire while her boyfriend was standing on the
Yeah, I hate to see that. I do.
Simple. I mean, like we talking about simple stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I've seen that too. I've seen the women at the gas station pump. It's cold outside. Yeah. They out there pumping the gas. And he's sitting in the car like
straight chilling. Like, you done yet? You done pumping this gas?
I'm like, man.
Yeah.
That's crazy to me.
Small stuff, man. It makes a world of difference. And but how do they know if they're not taught?
Right.
Even I see grown men to this day. They're walking with their girl, and she on the outside of the street, by the curb.
Yep.
When a guy's supposed to be on the outside.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Pennies over their mouth and opening the doors. Like, that's a lost art. You know, men aren't really gentlemen anymore. You know, you're right. And if they're not taught, they're not going to know. You know what I mean?
And then they become, I hate to say it, then you have this cycle of now your daughter is looking for a mate. She's struggling trying to find somebody because you have all, and she's like, I'm not settling for no foolishness. Right. But you have too many young men who weren't groomed accordingly, while at the same time we groom those young ladies.
Right. Exactly. And I thought this was another interesting term that you used: casualties of short-term failures. So how do we prepare our young men to not be casualties of short-term failures?
Yeah, I mean, we have to teach our young men to think long-term, be goal-oriented. You know, when you have a long-term goal, when something small doesn't go right, you stick the course because you're like, I'm still on the right path. I'm still on the right path. But if you don't have goals, aspirations, and then nobody sat down and teach you, this is how you develop some goals. You have actionable steps. You have measurable steps. You have these incremental things to do to achieve this. If nobody's teaching you that, now when you don't succeed, now you're like, well, I'll just give up. And then it's crazy because we also live in like a society where it's like people view failure as you're a failure. When in actuality, like, you know, what did Jay-Z say? He said fail quickly and fail often. Somebody said fail quickly and fail often.
I know what you're talking about.
You know what I mean? And that's what we need to be teaching young men, that it's okay to fail, but let's get back up. Let's learn from those different areas. Right. Because if not, then they become casualties, and now, that didn't work out, so let me go sell some drugs.
Right.
Or,
yeah.
That didn't work out. Well, let me go over here and make this quick run with the homie around the block real quick. Yeah. Because they don't have those goals and they're not taught to persevere through obstacles and challenges. Right.
And that goes back to the delayed gratification you were talking about earlier also. And I had to still tell a class of students I was tutoring a couple of weeks ago, math tutoring. You know, children hate math still. I hated it. But we were getting ready to do some type of division. And the first thing one of the students yelled out is, "That's hard. That's hard. I can't do that." And no, she said something about failure. I'm gonna fail, and I don't like failing. I said, well, failure is how you succeed. As a matter of fact, failing over and over and over and over again is how you eventually succeed, as long as you don't give up. And now she's sitting there like,
And it's teaching a growth mindset versus a fixed mindset.
Exactly.
You know, a fixed mindset is, I don't want to do anything that's going to challenge me. Challenge themselves. Yeah, I failed, but I still learned how to do it. And too many of our young people would rather be great at the same thing over and over than to gain some additional skill sets and knowledge by having that growth mindset. And we got to teach young men to have that, because too many of our young men, 150 people, right? Okay. That's excellent. It blew my mind how he literally took the mic from me and was trying to do it on his own. Yeah. And I loved it because it was like I was watching him just say, look, I can talk to these people. I can read this book by myself. I can do this. Right. And not being afraid. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And like, it just excited me because we got to present those opportunities and then support them and say, look, we're working on growth mindset. We're not working on fixed mindset.
Okay. So why is it important for parents to speak life into their children?
Because we live in a society where they're going to get beat
tore down from everything
every single day, every day, like I forgot what the study was saying, but it said something like by the time a kid is like 5, they would have heard hundreds and thousands of no. Yeah. Hundreds of thousands. Can I get that? No. Can I go do that? No. Can I do that? No. So speaking life into your child is also monitoring the type of conversations in a dialogue that you're having with your child. Right. Too often I've seen parents say things like, just gonna be honest, you're gonna be just like your dad.
Yeah, that's not the one. I got that one a lot.
Yeah. And then they don't mean it in a positive way. Right. Or you're gonna go straight to jail, or you're gonna end up dead. Yeah. And this is not just parents saying those things. I've seen teachers
me too,
say things like that to students, like you're not gonna be anything. Yeah. Or if you keep doing that, you're gonna go straight to jail. Yeah. So speaking life into people is about just kind of monitoring the way that we talk to people. Yeah. And constantly having a conversation about, did what I just say, how is that going to impact somebody long term? How is that going to impact this child long term when I say you're going to be just like your dad, or you're stupid, or why can't you be more like your sister or your other sibling? Those kind of things could be very painful.
See, now those two were the ones I got a lot. Why can't you be like your brother and sister? Because they were smart and I wasn't the brainiac. And then I always got you're going to be just like your dad. Now, sometimes they may have said it in a bad way. Sometimes they may have said it in a good way. But as a child, okay, so my dad was a crackhead for 20 years. Wow. So as a child, it got to a point when I heard you just like your dad, or you're going to be like your dad, I'm thinking, what? I'm going to be a crackhead when I grow up? I don't want to be a crackhead when I grow up. So it's about perception. Yeah. Because you may be meaning it one way, but all I knew about my dad at the time was that he cheated on my mama a lot. And that he was a crackhead. And I was like, I don't want to hurt women. And I don't want to be no crackhead. Yeah. So that, you have to really talk to your children, communicate with them, and see if they understand the message you're trying to relay. You may have been mad and you may have just said that out of anger. Or you may really just be bitter about not being with the dad no more. The son looked too much like the dad, and now you just always throwing that at him because you're mad at the dad and he looked like the dad. You know what I mean? And so you got to really
be careful,
be aware, and be careful of not only how you're saying it, but how it's being interpreted by the person you're saying it to.
And it can, people internalize that. You know what I'm saying? And then it could be like a self-fulfilling prophecy. And the person becomes every single thing that you despise. Yep. Because you spoke it into existence.
Right. You spoken into
you literally spoke it into an existence. Yeah. Because you were angry and you weren't monitoring what you were saying, to that child. Yeah. Or, in that moment of anger, or trying to get them to do what you want them to do.
Okay. This was another interesting concept you had in the book. So you talk about square watermelons. So what is the correlation between square watermelons and our young boys?
Yeah, like I heard somebody in the book I talk about it. I heard somebody talking about square watermelons. And I was like, what are these people talking about? Yeah. Square watermelon? Every watermelon I ever seen is round. You know what I'm saying?
I'm glad you had a picture in the book.
Yeah, because I didn't think people would believe it.
Right, yeah.
But I did some research on it, and square watermelons they grow them in, I think it was in Japan, I think. And what they do is, they grow watermelons just like you grow a regular watermelon, but they grow it inside of a crate that's smaller than what the watermelon would grow to. Yeah. So what happens is this watermelon becomes deformed actually because it's in a square crate, so it can't grow to be rounded to its full capacity. Yeah. So now it's a square, right? Then the other component is they take the watermelon out before it ripens. Yeah. And they do this because square watermelons, they're cute. They use them for decorative purposes because they look cool, and they cut them up and they look cool. And they also fit easier in refrigerators. Yeah. But the problem with the square watermelon, because they've done this to the watermelon, is that it doesn't taste good. Right. Because they harvested it prematurely. Yeah. And even though it looks good, it doesn't taste good. And sometimes when we say certain things to young men, we do the same thing. We put them in that box.
Yeah.
We put them in that box so they don't grow emotionally. They don't grow. They're growing physically,
right?
But they don't grow emotionally. And then the other thing that happens is they grow and they become these attractive looking brothers, 6 feet, 6-pack, all these other things.
Yeah.
But on the inside, they're not ripe because of all the things that we've done to them.
Right.
So that's like what that square watermelon is about. Is that, you know what I'm saying? Even though it looks good and all these other things, because it's not ripe, it was forced to grow in these small dimensions. It doesn't have the fruitfulness that you would normally associate
have, right,
with a regular watermelon.
Right. I thought that was so deep, man. I was like, that's because we are always putting people into boxes, our young men into boxes. I was put in a box almost my whole life until I decided to bust out of it and decided that nobody else was going to define me.
How did people put you in
it? Basically telling me I wasn't smart. I got that a lot. The thing about my daddy, that was the thing that I felt, because I always felt like you're telling me I'm going to grow up to be a woman abuser, a womanizer was the word. Telling me that I had to go to college. College was the only way. And we talked about this earlier. College is not, I wasn't even ready to go to college when I went to college. I was smart enough, but I wasn't ready. But I was forced to go anyway, which was a great decision for me. But now I'm in debt. And I'm still in debt. You know what I mean?
And a lot of people are.
Right. And so I was always put into, even when I started my career, when I started teaching, people put me in this box of, oh, you're a black man that's teaching. Stay this course for 5 years. You'll end up being a principal. And you could be a principal the rest of your life. And I'm like, I don't even want to be a principal. So why are you sticking me in that box already? And then they throw the money in your face. Well, principals make six figures. And that. I'm not all about the money. So, you know, people are always going to tell you what you can be and what you can't be. And it's up to you to decide what you can and cannot be, and to not listen to those extrinsic forces that you were talking about earlier. And so now I'm in a box that I've created totally of my own making. I'm doing acting. I'm doing WCG. I'm doing mentorship. I have a nonprofit. I do TV. I do all these things I never thought, as a young person, never thought that I would be doing. But that was one day I woke up and decided that no one else is going to define me, and I'm going to carve my own niche in this world and make it work.
But
and
check this out. How much further do you think you could be if somebody exposed that to you when you was like 8, 9, 7?
Man, I'd be set right now. I know that, because I didn't start building and maximizing my potential until I was 30. You know what I mean? And then a lot of things I've learned over the past 13, 14 years have been self-taught. You know what I mean? So that goes back to your point that everything doesn't have to be taught through college for someone to be successful. Now, not saying that college didn't help me, because it helped me to be organized. It helped me to formulate my thoughts, and it helped me to be able to present myself in a business professional manner to people. But like you said, college is not for everybody. And there are plenty of vacancies going unfilled because those industries, vocational industries, are no longer available. So yeah, we just got to teach people to be critical thinkers and self-sufficient, you know what I mean? And to have confidence in themselves. Man, we got about 5 more minutes left.
Oh man, that went by way too quick. Guys, if y'all watching, if you guys want to call in, I put the number above if you guys want to call in.
Okay.
Yeah,
so
crazy.
Yeah, we got to wrap this up. So, and we can wrap it up. There's no. Oh, keep going. I'm getting my signals confused. I see the finger. Okay, gotcha. No, I was saying this because I kept doing this at the award show the other day. But no, okay, so I'm good. I'm enjoying this conversation, man. You're listening to WCEGTalkRadio.com. We're having a hashtag casual conversation with my man, the change agent, Mr. Patrick Phillips, man. He's out here trying to empower the youth and uplift our communities, and he's doing an excellent job, man. He's a superhero in my eyes. And this book is excellent. Where can it be found? Amazon?
Yeah, it's on Amazon. It's on my website, www.mrphillipstthechangeagent.com. Books A Million, and then also Barnes and Noble's online.
Okay, excellent. Now, a few minutes ago, you mentioned something about young men and their emotions. why is it important to teach young boys how to express their emotions? Hold on, we got a caller.
Okay.
Ooh.
I like. Oh, so that what that was jamming too.
Yeah.
Hey.
Oh. Hey, thank you for calling in to WCGTalkRadio.com. What is your question in or comment, please?
I just wanted to make a comment. I've been knowing Patrick for a long time. I've known him when he was a teenager playing basketball. To keep on doing what he's doing, I'm sitting here listening to him on Facebook. But he is amazing, and I'm just so happy that he's taking the time to actually try to impact the children across wherever he can, because what he's talking is so real, and for him to come from where he came from and be able to go back and try to help those.
Right.
It's amazing.
Yes, ma'am. Well, I appreciate you listening, and I appreciate your comment.
Does he know it's me? I'm wandering.
I know who it is. I know it is. I know exactly who it is, and thank you for calling in and listening. Because it, like, to be honest about it, it goes back to that village. Like, it was all these little small people, that I interacted with when I was a child that make a small world of difference. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And thank you so much.
Thank you for listening, and thank you for calling in.
Okay, thank you.
Bye-bye. Yeah, you're right. When I realized that everybody didn't get the same education, I thought about on my life, and I reflected on teachers, black and white, that made a positive impact on me, which was the majority of my teachers. And so to see that there are some children not getting that totally blew my mind. Like, I had no idea that children were being miseducated. Mm-hmm. Then I came across Carter G. Woodson's books in The Miseducation of the Negro, which you had in your book as a to-read book. And so that book is very deep, just like yours. So I want to continue discussing this great book of yours. Before the caller chimed in, I was asking you, why is it important to teach young boys how to express their emotions? And go ahead and answer that question.
Yeah, I mean, the way you self-regulate in those things make a world of difference.
Yeah.
In a lot of different areas. When you talk about your relationships that you have with people, whether that's intimate relationships with your partners, when you talk about how you deal with adversity on the job, when you talk about how you may deal with situations with your children. So just emotional intelligence and regulation is so important. But what happens is we often don't provide the safe space for boys to develop it.
Right. Yeah.
Because when they start to express emotions, we say things like, "Why you acting like a girl?"
Yep. Or
we'll say things like, "You need to man up." Or we'll say things like, take it like a man. You know what I'm saying? And we've all heard these things where we're talking about doing these kind of things, that what it does is it like emotionally castrates young boys because they don't get a chance to learn those different skills. It's so important. And I give a couple of strategies for doing that, because now when we talk about potential domestic violence, when you talk about not being able to get along with your spouse, when you talk about now you're yelling at your kids, or you can't keep a job because you can't work with coworkers and these kind of things, now you're talking about a long-term impact. So I think that it's so important to provide that emotional safe place for young men to develop those things. And
most definitely. And you're right, we do stunt. And I say we because as a society, it's just kind of ingrained that we stunt young men's emotions, or young boys' emotions, at a very young age. I remember from 3 to probably 8, I cried a lot. And I was stop being, like you said, stop being a little girl. Only girls cry that much, or don't do this. So by the time by 9, I've learned to
channel it all in
to keep all of my emotions in, to the point where I've been writing poetry for probably 13 years now, and someone told me to do spoken word because my poetry was good, and I've done it a few times, but I'm just now getting comfortable with it, because for me it was displaying my emotions, or putting my emotions out for a lot of people, to making me vulnerable. And look, I grew up in the hood. That wasn't
being vulnerable.
Being vulnerable was not an option. Good evening, caller. Thank you for tuning in to WCGTalkRadio.com. What is your question in or comment, please? Caller, you there?
Hello?
Yes, ma'am. What is your question in or comment, please?
Yes, hi. I was calling in to say hello to the change agent.
Can you speak into the phone? We're having a little trouble hearing you.
I'm sorry?
Can you speak into the phone? If you have your radio turned up, could you turn it down and just speak up a little louder, please? We're having a little trouble hearing you. Can you get us? Can you call back? Yeah. Okay. But we do appreciate the phone call. We appreciate all of our listeners in Atlanta, across the country, and around the world, because we are a global station. Back to these emotions and teaching our young boys how to express our emotions. Again, like you mentioned, when people or young men don't know how to express themselves, that usually leads to anger, and anger usually leads to violence. You know what I mean?
And then they explode.
Right.
And then you explode because you've been holding it in all this time.
Oh my goodness.
You weren't allowed to learn how to express it the correct way. So now you're angry and you're upset about when you get angry. Now the only way that you know how to communicate your anger is physicality,
right? Because
you don't know how to communicate. And then since we're talking about that, like, another thing that I found from doing some research is that the inability for young men to be able to communicate as effectively as young ladies translates into academic success. Because when you learn how to communicate emotionally and you have better communication skills, you write better.
Right.
Your reading comprehension's a little bit better.
Yeah.
And those things, this is one of the reasons why some people theorize it's one of the reasons why young men actually lag behind in things like reading comprehension, writing, because a lot of the things that develop those type of skills are seen as feminine.
Yep.
Oh, you want to do plays? You want to be in plays?
Right.
You want to dance? You want to do art? You want to dance? Oh,
yep.
And then don't throw in there that you like to do art and then you cry sometimes. Oh shoot, what's wrong with this joker? He like art and he crying all the time. And he now all these different things start to come in play.
Yeah.
When in fact, we got to get to the point where we expose these young men to so many different things and not allow what's typically that's feminine or that's masculine or that's whatever, because it's impacting them not only academically, but it's impacting them emotionally when they get older.
Yeah, and psychologically, and not holding all of those emotions in, whatever it may be, it creates health issues. Like if you don't know how to get that stuff out of you and work through and process the issues or whatever you may be angry at, that's going to relate to health issues.
And that's why black men they live the least. We live the least out of every other ethnicity and demographic. Black men, you know what I'm saying? I think our average age is 60 something?
Yep, 62, I believe.
That's literally because of, like what we said, all of that stress.
Yep.
What it means to be a man, distorted perceptions of manhood.
Distorted perceptions.
All of these things have a big role.
Yeah, and I'm glad you said distorted perceptions of manhood, because I've talked about this before on the show, but I was a real male garden tool.
At first, I was like, what are you talking about? Oh, I was a little slow there.
I was a real male garden tool when I was younger.
Yeah.
And I didn't really know how to express myself with women, and my family was a bunch of male garden tools, and our definition of manhood was how many women that you could pull or have, you know what I mean? And for a very long time, that was my mentality. Probably, I know, all of high school through middle of college. By middle of college, I learned you didn't have to lie to women, you didn't have to do this and that, and just communicate, be honest, what you really want, and
you probably can get it.
You ain't no problem. I was a professional, you know. Listen to me now. But oh man, Good evening, caller. Thank you for listening to WCEGTalkRadio.com. You're on with Mr. Cheeks and Mr. Phillips. What is your question and or comment, please? Caller, you there? Oh, they hung up. Okay, that's all right. I'm enjoying this conversation.
Yeah, but that distorted perception, just like what you were saying. What happens is because we're not teaching what is manhood, then what happens is they're going to try to get the definition of it from other places.
Oh yeah, it's going to come from other places.
Music, TV, and so now manhood is equated to, like what you said. How many women can I sleep with?
Yeah.
How many blunts can I smoke?
Yeah.
How much damage can I do in my community? How many fights can I win?
Right.
How much alcohol can I drink and not get drunk? Now all of these other measures and standards about what is manhood and these negative ones come into play.
Right.
You have all of these young men trying to imitate these things. How many pills can I pop and still stand on 2 feet? How many beers can I throw down? You know, all of these kind of distorted perceptions. Oh, that's a real, and we use the N word. That's a real.
Yeah.
Really?
Right. Yeah.
Is that what makes it real? You know,
so distorted.
Yeah,
so distorted. And you just said something about, you know, how can I destroy the neighborhood or something to that effect, and that makes me think about the quote that you had in your book that says, "The child who is not embraced by the village will burn it down to feel its warmth."
Yep.
That is powerful, bro.
Yep.
And we have a lot of that going on in our communities. Young men that have been thrown away, discarded, unloved, and they're like, okay, you gonna put me in these streets or send me out to the wood? Yeah, I'm gonna show you. And that's detrimental to our communities. You know what I mean? And there are a lot of lost human capital people out there, a lot of broken souls out there, a lot of broken-hearted people. And John Hope Bryant states that the most dangerous person in the world is a person with no hope.
Wow.
You know what I mean? And I learned that at his first convention, and it always stuck with me because our children are losing hope at such a young age. When I was teaching in Bankhead, I had a second grader tell me he was going to drop out of school. He didn't need school. He was going to drop out and go sell drugs for his uncle. In the second grade. Then when I got in his face and tell him, you don't talk like that in my class, you're going to respect my class, yada, 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 he looked me up and down and said, N-word, I have my uncle come up here and shoot you.
And he was probably dead serious.
He was dead serious. I said, little bro, I'm here Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 3 p.m., bro. I am not hard to find.
Wow.
But just to see that mentality in somebody so young totally rocked my world. I moved to the hood when I was in 6th grade. So to see that type of mentality in somebody in the 2nd grade, you haven't even started living yet. And you're talking about going out here getting in these streets and possibly killing yourself. For what? Fast money? Fast, whatever it is. You don't like school? Like that was absolutely crazy to me. And so if we don't give children, our young men, the love, the support that they need, they're gonna go burn the village down.
Oh yeah, and they're gonna burn it down very well.
Right.
Yeah. And not gonna care who, that's why they don't care.
Right.
It used to be a thing when I was growing up where there was at least some rules in the hood.
Yeah, right.
You don't rob old women.
Some honor among thieves, right.
Yeah, you don't, certain things.
Yeah.
It just seems like those things just go out the window, man.
Yeah,
like you see people, old women get hit upside the head, it's just like, it's just the standards, everything is just kind of going down. And, and that's why it's up to us and men and other individuals to try to, make a difference and get in these schools. Yeah. A lot of times when people say mentors start to become like a nasty word.
Right.
Because people get intimidated by it because they think that it requires a significant amount of time.
Right.
To like make an impact when in fact it doesn't. Like one of the most impactful things that ever impacted me, and I share this all the time, was when I was in high school, we were in like the basketball championships and we used to have to dress up on the game day, shirt, tie, slacks.
Yeah.
I did not know how to tie a tie. My basketball coach took 1 minute showing me how to tie a tie.
Yeah.
And I still remember that to this day.
Yeah.
And it still has an impact on me. And it was one of the reasons why when I mentored, that was one of the things that we did.
Yeah.
Simple things. Don't take a whole lot of time out of your day. You don't know where that residual impact ends. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And, you're right.
The other thing is, man, we got to stop being scared of young men. You can't support, mentor, and all these other things if you're scared of them.
Yeah, you're right. And there are people that are very afraid of their children. And that's, first of all, that's a issue that starts in the home, because there's no way. I'm 44 years old, and I can't say I'm still scared of my mom, but for most of my life I was, because my mama didn't play. She wasn't having none of that extra foolishness. And I can honestly say to this day, I never sold drugs because of my mother, because I was afraid of my mother.
And it kind of makes me, like, I talk a little bit about it in the book. Like, when I was working for DFACS, there was a couple of things that blew my mind. One of them is when we would have parents literally come to try to drop their kids off.
Yeah.
Because they're like, I can't deal with them no more.
Wow.
I can't. They coming home whenever, they cussing me out, they doing whatever.
I couldn't even imagine.
A lot of times, I'm just gonna be honest, it was single moms, and it was the son who was just out of control. Yeah. And a lot of times what I saw too was the single moms giving the young men to the fathers after they were almost too far gone. Yeah. So now you just sent this 15, 16-year-old who doesn't have a lot of rapport and relationship with his father to live with his father. Right. He's trying to be a disciplinarian, but the son, like, who are you, bro? Right, who are you? Where you been? Right. We even had incidences where the father and the son have physical altercations. Physical altercations. Yeah. And we got to get involved because something went on there. But that's why I talk about, like, that importance of that healthy co-parenting. Yeah. Even if you guys are not together or whatever, there has to be some type of level of healthy co-parenting, because when we don't do those things, I see it too often, man, teaching and stuff like that, where the mom would send the son off because he was getting too unruly. Yeah. But if that father does not have a relationship with his son, what are we doing? Like, he's not going to be able to curb that.
That's going to make the situation worse.
It's going to make it worse. So the healthy co-parenting thing is so important, and getting over those unresolved issues. Now, I'm about to use the C word. Sometimes you got to get some counseling.
Ooh, boy, you cussing at the whole black community right now. What you talking about?
But, and it's taboo in our community, but you may have a family with these unresolved issues because of infidelity, because of you left me, or you said we was going to do this, and you have these unresolved issues, and they're impacting the way that you co-parent, which who's the beneficiary, who's losing in the situation? The kids.
Oh, yeah.
And so that's so important too,
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And my situation, I do not have a good co-parenting situation, and I don't want to get into too deeper, but the co-parenting is not there. She has basically taken him out of my life. He's 17 now, but because she's so angry at me still from 15 years ago, that she has nullified the relationship with me and my son. And now to the point where she's filled his head with so much stuff, he don't want a relationship with me. Wow. And so I can't really do anything about that because he's in Connecticut with her, this, that, the other. So for me, it's very difficult for me. And one thing I think about constantly is, what are the issues that my son is going to have now because his mother is so angry at me that she doesn't even want me to be a part of his life. You know what I mean? Like, I know he's going to have issues behind that. I know he's going to have issues behind the types of things that she's told him about. I've never said one thing bad about his mom. And so what issues are he going to have to deal with that because of, like you said, bad co-parenting skills? And I've made every effort to try to co-parent and do this thing together. But when people are angry,
unresolved issues and stuff.
Unresolved issues, you know what I mean? And even before the issue that me and her had, she had unresolved issues from her youth. You know what I mean? And all that stuff does is compound.
Compound interest. A
negative compound interest.
Negative.
Yes, no, phone, no.
She was bobbing to the
right. What is she doing?
But yeah, man, like that's so important and critical, man, because I think some of it, what it comes down to, and I was talking with a friend about this, was I think it's two things. I think one of it is the the constant over the last 30 years degrading of the importance and significance of a male.
Yes.
It's just been degraded.
It has.
So,
thank you for listening to WCEGTalkRadio.com. What is your question and or comment, please?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear what you said.
What is your question and or comment, please? What's your question?
Maybe I need to call back and hear you. I'm so sorry.
Okay, no problem.
Yeah.
We love our listeners.
Yeah. But I think some of it is that constant degrading of the significance and a role of a father. We've made fathers just, as long as you paying child support, I'm cool.
Right.
When there's so much more that men offer besides, and paying, helping with finance, all that stuff is important.
That's
important.
Not
what I'm saying.
It's not the most important.
Exactly, because those other things can be just as important. And I've seen situations where individuals don't allow. Another caller.
Good evening, caller. What is your question and or comment, please?
Okay, I still hear the same, but hopefully you can hear me well.
Yes.
But I wanted to make a comment on what you said. Are you the host of the show?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I wanted to say, make a comment on when you were talking about how mothers are turning their children against the fathers, and I am so, like probably one of the few mothers who figured out how to do that co-parenting.
Yes.
I went through a very bad. Patrick knows he knows of my ex-husband.
Okay.
But the thing about it is that it is possible, and what women don't know, mothers don't know, is I'm just confirming it on the other side, because you're a man speaking, I'm going to speak on the other side.
Yes, ma'am.
If mothers don't realize that the war, this is how I always put it when I talk, the war is not between you, the child, and the father. The war is between the mother and the father.
Right.
And that's where it should stay.
Yes.
And so what happens is they bring the children in on it, and now they become a pawn being pushed around from pillar to pole, because they haven't figured out that now that child is going to suffer. I was able to successfully, and my ex-husband is passed now, so I can say I don't blast him. And I'm very careful how I say it, because I do not have any negative feeling. We learned how to be friends in the midst of him having an affair and marrying the other woman.
Okay.
Because I made a conscious decision and listened to wise counsel that said you do not want to pull that child from his father, because when that child gets old enough and want to have a relationship with the father, then the father possibly will not want to have any relationship with that child because of a bad decision that maybe at the time you thought it was a good decision. Because I was able to do it, and I'm not going to try to say I say it was the grace of God that I was able to do it. That's all I'm saying about that. But I do know that mothers got to stop. They really have to think about what that child's mentalities are going to be. Now, mind you, there's circumstances. If the father's a drug addict, and
most definitely
different circumstances.
Yeah.
When you're talking about a father who's trying to be a father to his child, take your hands out of that and suck up your pride, ego, whatever you need to do.
That's
mother.
ego.
And it can be done, because I did it, and I did it successfully until his father passed. And he went to the military, and his father passed the first year he went to the military. He was about 19 years old, and we were able to be friends. When I say friends, because we let that mess go after he married the other woman. I'm just saying. So I just had to throw it. This is Wandra again.
Thank you. No problem. I want to commend you for being a mature co-parenter and being able to work that out.
Beg your pardon?
I want to commend you for being a mature co-parenter. Congratulations.
You know what? I'm still having the growling coming in. I don't know why. It's very difficult to hear you.
Might
but
be listening on both.
You can say it one more time. Otherwise, I don't want to hold up the line.
No, I was commending you for being an excellent co-parenter. Thank you for being an excellent co-parenter.
Okay.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for the call.
Okay. Bye-bye.
All right. Patrick, I think we got about 7 more minutes, so I want to get through some more of these questions. Implementing discipline. How should mothers implement discipline in a value system in young boys?
Yeah. I mean, it has to start early, brother, because a lot of times parents will say, what do I do with my son? He's 16. He doesn't want to come home. He doesn't want to listen. And I'm not going to say it's too late.
Yeah, that's a little late, though.
I
it's a little. It's never too late, but that's a little late.
Yeah, you want to start early, man, where they're policing themselves.
Right.
And you start when they're little kids. They need to have responsibilities. They need to have things that they know they need to do, whether it's their small chores. They have their routine. They come home, do their homework before they play sports or get on the video games. And then, I talk a little bit about it in the book. Like sometimes as a parent, you've got to waste money. And what I mean by that is you may have paid for him to be on a basketball team.
Yeah.
If his grades ain't right,
oh, he can't participate.
We ain't going.
We gotta take that L.
Yeah, you're gonna have to take that L. Like you can't say, well, I'm not gonna waste my money. So you're gonna go and you're not doing prime example. Right. I talk about it in the book, man. When I was in high school, I was in 9th grade. I was the only freshman on junior varsity.
Yeah.
I was starting and everything. My grades went bad. My mom did not allow me to go to the trip that she had paid for. We were going out of the state to play in a basketball tournament. My mom paid the money. It was non-refundable. She did not let me go.
Yeah.
She took a L.
Yeah.
But then the other thing was, man, and I remember that punishment to this day because I lost my starting position on the team.
Ooh, yeah.
I lost my starting position on the team. But you see, my mom had a long-term vision for me.
Right.
And she was willing to cause me some short-term L's and losses. And she was willing to take some because she had the long-term in mind. So when you're talking about disciplining young people, it's got to be early, man. And you got to have rules, regulations. They got to have responsibilities from an early age. And there has to be accountability. If you're not, whatever your chores are, if you're not making your bed, you didn't clean your room, you didn't do the bathroom, you didn't wash the dishes, there has to be consequences for those actions because you want them to get to the point where they are literally policing themselves. Where they're kind of like, well, I know I need to be doing these kind of things here. And then also some of that would be getting them around the right people as well. Because like, for example, if you have your son in a mentor program or whatever the case may be, and they're in the mentor program and they're seeing other young men that are high achieving, they're getting the grades that they're supposed to get. They're being successful. Your son is going to look and say, I want to be successful.
Yeah, right. What am I doing?
Yeah, I want to be on the same level. I want to get pats on the back. Right. I want to get kudos. I want to win awards too.
Right.
So you got to start early with those kind of things. What I see too often is people wait till the things are so far gone. Now I want to try to put rules and regulations in. I probably should have put this in the book. And now that, man, you be asking some good questions. And I'm sure you went through this in your teacher training. They told us as teachers, they said, do not be these kids' friends.
Yep.
When the school year starts.
I was told not to smile on the first day.
I'm telling you, they told you, do not be these children's friends on that during that. Literally, they said like that first month.
Yeah.
You got to be like,
discipline. Because
then you can loosen up as the semester goes on. I'm loosening up. But if you come in there all happy dory, free falling, kids doing whatever they want to do, and now it's halfway through the semester, you trying to we ain't gonna do this no more.
Yeah.
I think I turned my mic off. I did. I'll stop hitting the table.
You so passionate, brother. You passionate, brother. I know.
But that's what happens too often.
Yeah.
You'll see people, they wait till they're so far down the line to now they want to try to to implement discipline, and that's just not the most conducive way to do it.
Right.
And I should have put that in the book because that was, and this is what they taught us in teacher training.
Yeah.
Don't you be those kids' friend that first week of school. Don't smile. Don't do nothing. So you got to be that disciplinarian. Early on, let them know those rules, regulations, and then you can kind of let off the gas a little bit because the worst thing you can do is to wait till you have a 16-year-old and now you're trying to lay down the foundation, and now he's like, I ain't listening to you. I'm bigger, I'm stronger than you.
Right, yeah.
That's whenever I feel like it. And now it's a problem.
And back to what you said about nipping things in the bud or when they're still young. I remember when I was 12, hitting puberty, and I'm starting to shoot up. My mama snatched me up and was like, boy, I don't care how big you think you get. I'm still going to put foot in behind if you... Get whatever, and I believed her because she got me by my shirt, looking in my eyes. In this world, I'll take it. That was my mama all day. I love you, Rosetta Cheeks.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, good info, man. Good info. Great interview here, and really good book, man. Really good book.
I appreciate it, man.
Now this next question, this was another area. Now this hit home with me. I told you I could relate to a lot of parts of the book. What are the dangers of labeling a young boy man of the house before he has earned it? Because I was told in middle school I was the man of the house.
Man, I've seen kids as young as 1 year old called man of the house. They still in diapers, peeing.
Right.
How he the man of the house?
Yeah, right.
You know, and just because there's no male in the house doesn't mean you should be calling yourself.
He's default the male of the house.
And it shouldn't be that way. And I talk about it a little bit in the book about like in many cultures, before someone is considered a man in the community, they got to go through a rites of passage.
Yeah.
They have to do a number of different activities, and it may vary based on culture, but there are a variety of activities and things that one has to do before they are granted the title of man or manhood. Yeah. And I think in our society, what happens is so many young men are lost because they didn't have those markers of learning what does it take to become a man, and when do you become a man. Yeah. And I feel like that's one of the reasons why we have grown men walking around still acting like boys, because to me they're in an infinite state of drifting. They never had a rite of passage. Right. Yeah. So they never transition. They're strong. Yeah. They're 6 feet tall. They look like a man. Yeah. But they don't act like a man. Right. And so that's one of the dangers. And then one of the other things that I talk about is, if you start calling a 1 year old the man of the house, now when he's 10 and he doesn't want to listen to you, why should he? I'm the man. Yeah, when you've been calling me the man, and since I've been 2 years old, right, and I'm getting taller, I'm the man of the house, right? Yeah. Like, why should I listen to you? So now the likelihood of having issues, conflicts in the house about, you know, who's giving the directions, who's taking them. Yeah. Now those things are distorted. The role of parent and child is a little bit distorted because you've been making him man of the house. You've been equal since you've been 2, and now I'm trying to tell you what to do, and I don't want to hear that. Yeah. Yeah, that's a very valid point. And you know, when I was in middle school, I'm a man of the house. I'm like, okay, well, I don't, you know, I'm playing video games, watching cartoons every Saturday. Didn't have a job at the time, but I'm the man of the house. But you man of playing video games. I'm buying everything for you. I'm driving you around in my car. You still a child, but then we wonder why when you grown, women still driving you around in your car. Right. Yeah. Why you still? I have friends right now who are married. Yeah. And one of the issues that they have in their marriage is their husband play video games all night long. I hear that a lot. All night long. Grown married men with children. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And it's okay to get on the stick sometimes. I'm not mad at that. But when you up to 1, 2, 3 in the morning and it's causing a conflict in your relationship, and you're neglecting responsibilities. Yeah. You playing video games. Yeah, that's all bad. And Penny just held a piece of paper when you were talking about rites of passage. She was talking about the Jewish people have the bar mitzvahs. Yeah. What is it? 16? 13. Oh wow! I thought okay. Yeah. So when they're coming into puberty, they have this bar mitzvah, which is a rite of passage of them coming into their manhood or into adulthood. And a lot of cultures have it. You know, we've seen it in like just movies like Avatar. You know what I'm saying? Like in order to be one with the people, you have to go through that process. Yeah. Black Panther. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like in order to be, you know, a man considered a man or the king, you have to go through a process. Yeah. And we're not allowing or requiring young men to go through a process, and they're getting all the benefits like they haven't been through that process. Yeah, but they didn't go through the process and get the development that goes along with the process. Yeah, yeah, that is very important. So I man, this book is good. Thank you, man. Because I was able to relate to a lot of this stuff that you're talking about in here. You know what I mean? And this was one of the main things, being that man of the house and all of that stuff. Let me get this last question in there. Us both being educators. Why is it important to make education a priority in the household? Yeah, I mean, education is, you know, education can be the economic equalizer. And when I say education, I don't just mean bachelor's, master's, all those different kind of things. Right. I'm talking about self-education. I'm talking about whether you decide to go to a trade school, get a skill or a trade so you can support your family. But laying that foundation that education is a priority is so important. And it kind of goes back to like being willing to take that L of, you know, my mom, she never let me bring poor grades in. It was never acceptable to not have the grades that what they were supposed to be. But then also she backed it up and her actions supported it.
Yeah.
You know,
my mom did too.
Too often I see kids, they get suspended from school and they come back with Jordans and a $50 haircut.
Right.
With zigzag lines, looking cool and fresh.
Drawings in there.
Yeah. And to me, what that said was, F you, I'm back up in this thing. And my parents don't care. What you gonna do about it? Right? So,
yeah,
you know, showing that education is a priority is not just sitting down doing homework with your kids. It's about your actions actually supporting that.
Yeah.
You know, your kids should understand that my mom is serious about this education, because not only does she come to my basketball game, she's at the PTA meetings. Not only does she come out there on the field, she came to my, if there's an IEP meeting,
right,
or she came to the parent teacher conference, or she'll show up. My mom, man, when I was real talkative, as you can tell, I remember one time my mom came and sat in all of my classes for 3 days straight.
Ooh, my mama never did that. Thank you, mama.
3 days straight. And the people was like, is that your mama in class? I was like, nah, bro. It's like, she looked just like you, bro. I was like, shut up. Another funny one I talk about in the book was when I was in 5th grade. I remember this punishment to this day. I was acting up. My mom, I'm in South Central, bro.
Yeah. She
took all of my clothes and all of my shoes and made me wear a school uniform.
Oh, yeah.
And Payless shoes.
Oh.
In the hood.
I'm
the only one going to school with a uniform on with Payless shoes.
Payless shoes.
You better believe the next grading period, my grades was up.
It was on point.
But she was showing that, you know, education is important. I'm not going to play that.
Yeah.
You know, so you just have to support it. It can't just be talk, oh, education is a priority. You got to back it up and with your actions.
Right. Most definitely.
All parents.
Most definitely. And my mom did that as well. My mom worked 2-3 jobs, but she always she calling from the job. Did you do your homework?
Exactly.
Do your homework before you go outside, like you said. She always stressed education. And then for a long time, I didn't even really listen to her. When I got to high school, I started playing football. And I had a mentor, my white high school football coach, Coach Caruso. I asked him one day, Coach, what do I have to do to get out of the hood? He looked at me, he put his hand on my shoulder. He was like, Cheeks, you have to get your education. And that always stuck with me. And from that moment on, I started taking school seriously because I wanted to get out the hood.
Yep.
And so that was my whole focus. I wanted more and to be able to give to my children when I eventually had them. So yeah, that education is very important. And I like the example you put in the book about Michael Thurman. You want to touch on that?
Yeah, Michael Thurman, he's a very well-known individual. And when I heard this story, it was just so powerful to me. His father was a sharecropper.
Yeah.
And I think he said his father had about a 3rd grade education of even that, but he didn't discover it until Michael Thurman didn't discover his father had a 3rd grade education until he was in the 8th grade.
Right. And
he said he discovered it because, he went on so long not knowing, because his dad would sit down with him every night while he did their homework.
Yeah.
And just watch them do it.
Yeah.
Never intervene and help, and just watch them. And it wasn't until Michael Thurman explained that he was about the 8th grade that he realized that his dad was practically illiterate.
Yeah.
And only had a 3rd grade education. But he sat down with them every night and watched them over him do his homework, and how that set the tone and the foundation for the expectation. Even though he wasn't able to help him physically with his homework, you know, or he didn't have the academic capacity.
Yeah.
The value system of, we're going to sit
here together.
Yeah. And we're going to do this work, you know, elevated him to where he was, the CEO of DeKalb County.
Yep, CEO of DeKalb County.
Was, I mean, just doing, you know, a well-known politician, just doing
all these great
things.
Yep, most definitely. So I thought that was a very poignant example of how someone who didn't have an education sat there with their children while they did their homework to make sure that they not only that they did it, but to show them that this is what's important in order to be a productive member of society. I thought that was wonderful. Last question. Why did you write the book with reflections at the end of each chapter?
Yeah, I think that was a social work in me, because I'm not a lecturer. I don't believe in just telling people what to do.
I don't either, especially grown people.
I want you to come to your own conclusions.
Right.
I want you to reflect and think about things, because from my own personal experiences, that's where the most growth came from.
Yeah.
It didn't come from somebody telling me what I should think or telling me what I should do. It came from me reading something, processing the information, and thinking about how that relayed to me in my personal situation.
Right.
And then saying, how can I best use that information?
Yep.
And that's why I wanted each of the chapters to actually be a question.
Yeah.
Each a question. And then why each of the chapters has activities, not only for the parent, but a lot of them have activities for the parent and the child to do things. So we're developing the parent and we're also developing the child at the same time.
Yeah. I absolutely love that because it reminded me of a book that I read called Purpose Driven Life by Rick Warren. And that book is basically what helped me to start my spiritual journey that I'm on now.
Wow.
But after each, the way you had to read the book, he wanted you to read it a chapter a day. And at the end of each chapter, it had reflection questions.
Yeah.
And what that allowed me to do was give self-introspection and see what I was doing wrong, what I needed to be doing to make my life better than what it was at the time. And I did the book that exact way, the way it was meant to be done. And I had other people that I know that read the book. And I asked them, did you do it like it said, read a chapter a day and reflect on? Oh, nah, I don't.
Yep,
man, bump all that. They missed out. And I'm like, well, you can't even follow the directions that the author gave for you to read the book. So how are you planning to grow?
Benefit.
You're not going to get the full benefit. How are you going to grow? And one lady, when I was teaching the bankhead, she read the book after I did. She said, Mr. Cheeks, I remember talking to you about you reading this book and you said you got so much out of it. I done read this whole thing and it ain't really moved me at all. I said, well, did you do it by each chapter? Man, I ain't got time for that. I was trying to get through the book and get the information that it had for me, but apparently they ain't got nothing for me. You did it wrong. So I love the fact that you have the reflections in there because it gives the people a moment of introspection and to see what they're really doing in their life. What are we doing with this here? Book, Daddy's Secret.
That author that you interviewed.
Yeah, at Sunday. Yes.
That stuck with me when you all were talking about.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
The education.
Yeah.
My father didn't have that. Thurman didn't know.
Right. Yeah.
At a certain age.
Yeah. And I interviewed a guy who's dyslexic. The book is called Daddy's Secret. And his family didn't know that he was dyslexic for a very long time.
And it just goes to show the presence, just the presence. Like my son is on the swim team. I've never swam in my life. I mean, I swim, but I never swam like
organized,
competition wise.
Yeah.
And I've seen my son get better off of me. I'm watching what the coaches are saying, and I'm just trying to mimic what they're doing.
Yeah.
And it's just because I'm there.
Yeah.
So you cannot devalue just what presence will do. Just being present.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's time for us to wrap up and get out of here. I want to show you this book again. Don't Just Love Your Son, Raise Him, by Mr. Patrick Phillips, the Change Agent. The book can be found at Amazon. It's on his website, www.mrphillipsthechangeagent.com. Where else is it?
It's on Barnes & Noble's online and Books A Million as well. And if you want a signed copy, I'll sign them when you order from the website.
Okay, excellent. And this book is by his son, what's his name? Jameson Phillips, The Adventures of Little Jam and the Amazing Dinosaurs. So not only is he an amazing author, but he's passing that talent down to his son at a very young age. He's 7 right?
7 years old, third book.
This is his third book at 7 years old. So shout out to him. With that, we're going to transition to our last segment of the evening, which is my Scholars of the Week. My first Scholar of the Week goes to Miss Ariana Rogers. Woo, woo, woo. She made the Dean's List at Georgia Tech University, and she is also the niece of my wonderful producer, Miss Penny Rogers. So shout out to you, Ariana Rogers. Great job, and keep up the great work at Georgia Tech University. That is not an easy school, from what I understand. And my second Scholars of the Week, I just like to give to every one of the award recipients at the 5th annual Youth Excellence in Awards show. There was so many talented youth and so many talented youth that are doing positive things in the community, because it's not all about just showcasing your talent and trying to make money off your talent, but it's about what are you going to do to use your talent to uplift your community and to uplift other people around you. So I have to give a special shout out to Miss Marcella Phillips and Wardell Richardson for putting that together. The 5th annual Youth Empowerment and Excellence Awards, brought to you by International Talent Elite Entertainment. So shout out to all of those youth, and I'm looking forward to the 6th annual Youth Empowerment and Excellence Awards next year in March. So yes, Penny and I worked the red carpet and Mr. Oliver, so everybody did an awesome job, and you, sir, you're doing an awesome job and a great work in the community.
Hey, thank you so much.
Keep up the great work, man. I appreciate it.
I've been bragging about this guy. I said I couldn't wait to. I've never seen anybody do the homework like this, brother. When they doing, I
appreciate you.
This brother right here, man.
I appreciate you, and because of what you just said, that's how I ended up sitting in this WCEG hosting seat right now. So thank you, brother. Keep up the great work. Keep motivating our youth, and keep writing these excellent books, man. I know Lil Jam is going to be just as well. All right, to my listeners out there, thank you for listening. If you have any Scholars of the Week you'd like to send in, you can send it in to WCEGtalkradio@gmail.com. I just need the student's name, the school that they go to, and the wonderful, amazing act that they did, whether it was good grades, whether it was stopping another student from being bullying, whether it was helping the teacher, whatever positive thing that we can do to recognize these children for, that's what I'm all about. So thank you for listening. It's been a #casual conversation with Mr. Patrick Phillips, the change agent, and we will be back next week, March 12th at 6 p.m. So make sure you tune in, call in, join the conversation. Thank you. We're out. Peace. So